with Sean McGregor today. This is Christine with Kndrd Quarters. I'm representing today. And we're going to do an interview, just another owner of a co-living, actually multiple homes, right? Which he'll get into. Yeah. He's out in Austin, Texas, which is actually one of my top 5 cities in the world. I love that city. So what's really unique, and again, I'm sure Sean will go into it, is actually it's him and his wife and their 8-month-old. So that's, we have people a lot of times approach us about, oh, what about married couples? What about kids? And so it'll be really interesting to dive in and to see how that dynamic, works with their co-living arrangement. So yeah, let's launch right into it. Sean, go ahead and talk about your business and what you got going on over there.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, you mentioned them. So there's Lindsay and little baby Jay.
Baby Jay, so cute. That's awesome.
So, like every single time someone books with us, I let them know, like, this is, we'll help you out, Sean, Lindsay, and baby Jay. And we have 2 current locations in Austin. They're called the Swap Loft, Stay, Work, and Play Austin. And so the reason it even existed was Lindsay is a big Tim Ferriss fan. She owns her own other business called American Dance Training Camps, which is, overnight dance camps for girls 8 to 17 years old, 8 locations around the country. She has New York City Rockettes, and people have been on So You Think You Can Dance, and J-Lo's backup dancers, all teaching these girls, all these different amazing dance styles, but they also do, camp activities like kayaking and all those things. And through that, she's been doing that for 16 years. And, she actually read the 4-Hour Work Week, already had that business going. And she's like, wait a second, I already have a business that I can do from anywhere. She was living in San Francisco at the time. And so she did an around the world trip for 15 months, sadly before I met her. But, she went to 30 plus countries. And what happened for her is whenever she'd be in a new place and she would stay in a hotel, she would sit there and she'd eat takeout, she'd watch a movie, and her experience would kind of suck of that place because, it'd be harder to get that motivation to go out and actually see everything. And she wouldn't necessarily have the courage sometimes to go out to the restaurant by herself and do something. Whereas, whenever she would go to a hostel or somewhere where it's more of a group setting, she would then instantly make friends. And, it was the thing where so-and-so would know about this concert and they would go to that. And then, they'd meet a few people there and they would know about this cool trip and they would go there. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, you look back and you have this incredible time and you have friends for life that, you'll always remember, my time in Buenos Aires, I'll always remember this person, because we shared this, amazing adventure that you couldn't have planned if you tried, but because you just randomly were in the same spot, you were open and, able to actually meet some other people and communicate and hit it off. All of a sudden you have new friends and an incredible experience that you could have never planned otherwise. And so whenever she moved to Austin, she kind of had that seed of an idea. She had done camps before. She had that experience with traveling and, the hostels and things like that she'd been to. And so, we decided to start doing a co-living space called the Swap Loft. It started out as an original downtown location. 7 people could stay there, mainly shared rooms. Cause the whole idea is we want people to interact. And, if, there's private rooms, people just kind of okay, I'm here in Austin, but I'm in my private space and I'm there. We want to make sure you're passing through each other in the common areas. Sometimes you're sleeping next to them. We try to make sure that people do interact. That way they do have that magic moment where oh God, you're in town for the same thing, or, oh, I love music, or I want to go eat that barbecue. And all of a sudden people hit it off, the weekend starts. And then 3 days later, like I said, they have a magic moment. So that was the original location. The second location, our apartment lease was running out. And so, the first location was going well for the first year. We decided to end our apartment lease, find a new location where we could actually live in the business. And that's our Barton Springs location. So if you know Austin, we're the only house on Barton Springs Road right by Zilker Park. So there's Shady Grove and Juice Land and everything. So we have that house right there where we live with 5 rotating roommates. And it's been an incredible experience because, you have all these people coming through and if you look at the news, it's doom and gloom as far as, oh, there's all this fear kind of been thrown out, but we get to see week in, week out, 5 different people come together, different backgrounds, different interests, different countries. And every single time, without fail, like people make friends, people have a great time. They go out and explore with each other. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like in our reviews, or we have like a big signing wall where at all of our locations, people actually write, on our actual wall whenever they leave. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've gotten the actual like description of like life-changing experience. And so it's been unbelievable. We since added a new downtown space. So we closed our original one, and now we have one called the Bill Murray Swap Loft. That's 2-story, has a full co-working area on the bottom floor, along with full kitchen, a movie room, and upstairs we can sleep 22 people.
Oh my
and so
God.
Now we have those 2 locations, one right by Zilker Park, and then one, center of downtown, half a block from 6th Street, walking distance to Rainey Street and all the other stuff you want to do, and half a block from the convention center. So we just have a very interesting flow of people, and yeah, it's been an incredible experience. And then I know I'm rambling a little bit, but, found out we were having a baby. We looked into potentially, getting our own place. We stayed we house sat for someone for like 4 or 5 days. And then we quickly realized man, we miss our home, and we miss just having the random experience of like being in a kitchen cooking and all of a sudden having a conversation with someone from New Zealand that like you would have never met before. But, it's just incredible because it's like every single day you have interesting conversations. You have, you learn about things you wouldn't have known about. You find out what people are really passionate about, where they're from. You get interested in like, maybe we'll travel there. Like, it's been unbelievable. And so we decided to stay, have the baby in the house. We live in the far part of the house to where you can't hear any babies crying or anything like that. But, baby Jay, it's been amazing for him because he gets exposed to all these people over and over again. So he is the most, lovable, kind, he never cries. Like I could, if we were in a room together, I could hand him to you right now and he wouldn't cry or fuss at all. He's just like, cool, another person, cool, another person, cool, another person. And he gets along with everybody. Like, yeah, it's been amazing for him and for us. And yeah, we're just loving it. And one more side note before I finish, we're actually, because we are digital nomads, and when we had our kid, we were told by friends and whatnot, like, oh, well, there go your traveling days. We actually leave on Monday to go to Dublin for one night, then Copenhagen, and we're going to stay there for a week. And then we'll probably be in Europe for several months while working on the business with baby Jay, just to kind of hopefully prove to other people that you don't have to make that decision between having a family and being able to travel. I mean, with Wi-Fi now and goods getting you can get your work done anywhere, and we can be sitting in a room, in Austin, watching them, while we're both working on our computers, or we can be in Copenhagen or, Budapest or wherever we end up going. So
I
yeah,
love it. And
about that. Yeah.
As you were talking, I was making a couple notes. And I love that point because I actually have a really good friend and they're married with a dog and they still travel the world. So you're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of shattering all those misconceptions of what marriage needs to look like and raising a family and white picket fence and not traveling anymore. That doesn't have to be the case, especially if if you guys have jobs where you have that freedom, which is amazing. So I love that. Do you guys allow, if somebody else had a child, would they be able to stay at one of your houses?
Definitely not. I mean, it's, no kids, no one under 21. And, we have a few private rooms where couples can stay. But I mean, our main bread and butter is we love having solo travelers. That way there is no kind of coupling up to where they're not going to interact with the other guests. Our main thing is we want, people to meet each other, people to, come into it a little nervous and not exactly know what's going on, kind of burst through their comfort zone. And then 3 or 4 days later, be like, I'm never traveling, in a traditional hotel since again. And that's been, one of the most rewarding things is just people literally this is the best weekend I've had in so long. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. We have, all sorts of books people can use. We have inspirational messages on the walls everywhere. And we very much target digital nomads, people that can work for themselves. But we also have, just people that are coming to Austin and want to have a good weekend. And I kind of love that we do have just multiple different types of people all coming to Austin, unexpected friendships all the time. And like, we get to see on Facebook that like a month later, they're in Colombia together, hanging out, you know, it's
That's
like
so
the best thing.
cool. That's super
Yeah.
cool. And then your other location, I'm sure for ACL, and I've been to ACL, that's an
Yeah,
amazing music festival. It's incredible. Your other house is like right there next to it. So it must get booked
totally. I
like
mean,
crazy.
yeah, exactly. So we have a giant, like 2,000 square foot patio. And so, I mean, it's amazing because we're a 5 minute walk from, you know, what's going to be, you know, Metallica and Paul McCartney this year, among a Childish Gambino. Like, we like a 5 minute walk to the front gate from our place. Plus, it's incredible to be able to like walk back, use the bathroom, go hang on the patio, and they block off Barton Springs Road right there. So
Yep.
you can just like at the end of the night, you can go up there. You know, we'll have music on the patio and like just have a few drinks, and you'll watch 70,000 people just stream by. And you know, some are in better shape than others. Some are, you know, had a little bit too much fun. But I mean, it's definitely an incredible experience.
Yeah,
We love
that's in September, right? It's towards the end of September?
it. So it's the first and second weekend of October.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So let me see. What other little questions did I have as you were talking? So right now, 2 locations, correct?
So 2 locations: the Barton Springs location we were just talking about, right by Zilker, and then a downtown location right by 6th Street. You know, half block from 6th Street, half block from Convention Center. So like, it's cool because we get a lot of people that are going to events there, and like all of a sudden, you know, you'll have 10 or 12 people staying at that location that are all for the same event, and they have like the best networking in their life. Instead of like being in the conference hotel, they can be just as close, and like they're actually sharing a kitchen, you know, hanging out in the common like co-working area, watching the game on the big screen, like on the, you know, projection screen, like in between meetings. And just, again, like the amount of like really solid networking, like, you know, you don't get that in a traditional sense just because everyone does have kind of their, you know, their little bubbles up to where they don't want to necessarily talk to people. But like, we kind of force the issue where like, we want you to interact. You know, we send them a big thing right before they show up, like tips to a great stay at the Swap Loft. If you see somebody, say hello. Maybe it'll just be a polite conversation. Maybe you'll make a lifelong friend. And
Oh,
so we
that's
try
cool.
to like really drive that home. Like, our main thing is, you know, like, I'm redoing the website right now. And like, the main word that keeps on popping up is like friendship. It's like, we want, you know, our long-term guests are staying with us to also have these new people coming through that kind of just stir the pot and make it to where, you know, they have new experiences. They find out about new things coming on. They, you know, just hit it off with random people. And then all of a sudden they're kind of the tour guide that's helping people like, oh, you got to go to this place for breakfast tacos. Oh, this place has the best drink specials, you know, like, it's amazing. One thing I'll tell you, we do also, since I'm already on a roll, like, to that same effect of like making people communicate, one cool thing we do, and that I kind of recommend to any co-working space, this or another alternative like it, is we have a Slack channel where the people from both of our locations, you know, everyone's sent an invite. If they accept it, then, you know, they can be like, hey guys, I'm staying at the Barton Springs house. I'm feeling like getting some barbecue tonight. Anybody interested? And like 2 or 3 or 4 people could be like, sure, I'm hungry. Yeah, I want to go try that place out too. And then they'll be able to meet, even if they're staying at different locations, and, you know, have an incredible time.
No, I love that. And
The way we
creating
do
a
it is
community.
when you stay at one location, you get access to both.
Cool.
So, you know, if you are staying downtown, but you want to go check out Barton Springs, like the pool, you know, you can hop up and like meet the people there, and then, you know, get a little, you know, gathering of posse, and then just all go down and have a good time at the Springs.
Cool. And then do you guys, yeah, your reviews were amazing, by the way. I looked online. So you guys have great
Awesome.
reviews. And then how often do you guys do events?
So to the same effect as like the, you know, the Slack channel thing, we've been doing a weekly Thursday night event. And, you know, our whole thing is we don't necessarily want to get in the way of Austin because people are here to experience Austin. So our events kind of revolve around, you know, what's already great about Austin. So it just so happens that Shady Grove, the restaurant right across the street from us, every single Thursday night, they have something called Unplugged at the Grove.
Ooh.
And with that, like from 8 to 10 o'clock every single Thursday night, there's live music from, you know, like an A-list Austin artist. Like, so someone like Bob Schneider or, you know, Jimmy Rayvon, like, you know, it's like pretty, you know, high level people for Austin. They play there for free on our patio. You can hear it perfectly. So we invite all the people from both locations.
What year, when did you start the first house?
So it was April 2015.
Okay, so 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
A little over 3 years now.
And then let me see, and I'm going through my questions, but you've answered a lot of them already, which is great. Let's see here. What did you pivot the business model at all as in the last 3 years, or no? Has it just kind of organically fallen into place?
I mean, so we're still figuring it out. I mean, like we don't know exactly what it's going to be, what it's going to look like in the long term. We just know that like our first kind of like, all right, well, let's give this a shot has worked. And like kind of surprisingly, because, you know, we had like our first space was pretty small with up to 7 people sleeping there. And we're like, oh my God, is this going to happen? Is this going to be all right? And like, sure enough, people loved it. And like, because of the reason that, you know, if they go to a hotel, even if it's a, you know, huge queen comfy bed, they're not going to remember that weekend or like that stay. Whereas with ours, hopefully it'll make a lasting impact and they'll hopefully be like more open in the future and, you know, just carry that on the rest of their life as being like, oh, cool. Well, I'm going to talk to that stranger because maybe something amazing will happen. But yeah, so that was the original location. And yeah, it just, whenever we saw the Barton Springs house, because it was kind of a unicorn and like the one place of its kind, we knew that was going to be a fit. And then the third location, that's definitely like our, you know, much bigger, much grander, like, all right, well, let's see how big, you know, we can make it in Austin. Like this is also an amazing location. The reason we chose that place or even found out about it, we actually, you know, decided to sign the lease while Lindsay was, I think, 5.5 months pregnant. Just because, like, again, we looked at potentially getting a house and kind of got like scared to death of like, oh no, we're about to fall into the thing that we were, you know, like not necessarily wanting because, you know, we don't necessarily covet like our own plot of land. Like we love the experiences and we love like the freedom to be able to travel and, you know, just meet interesting people and have great conversations. So, you know, we found that place because the night Lindsay and I actually met, Bill Murray was there. And the place that we have, our new location, there's actually a 12-foot tall Bill Murray mural. It was there from the previous guest. There's a company called The Chive, and it was their original Austin headquarters when they moved from LA. And so like, you know, we're looking through like on LoopNet and all of a sudden she sees like, oh my God, there's a giant Bill Murray. We got to go check that place out. And it just happened to be this like really weird, cool space with like amazing architecture, like Austin historic places from like 1876, like dead in the center of Austin, like right downtown. And
did you guys did you guys purchase the home or are you guys leasing?
No, we rent.
Okay, cool. And do you guys do 1 year? So you guys do a 1 year lease or a long-term lease?
So that one is a little bit longer, but I mean, with all of ours, you know, we tell them what our business model is and we like let them know like, this is what we're doing. You know, we've already had this kind of track record. Here's our reviews. Here are what people are saying. You know, we'll do X amount of a lease, but then we want, you know, these options. And so, you know, with each one, we can lock it down for much longer term, but we kind of like, you know, to quote your boy, Richard Branson, you know, protect your downside where if it doesn't work out, you know, it's a short lease, but if it works out, you have the option to keep on for, you know, a pretty long while.
Oh, so is it like a 3 year with an option or how'd you guys structure them?
So the newest one was an 18-month.
Oh, okay.
With like 10 plus years of options.
Oh, good. And then, cause you guys are bringing the furniture in too, right? You guys are furnishing.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. I mean, like that space, you know, like I said, it was basically an internet marketing company was there before. And like no one had slept there in like 30, 40 years. It was all just for, you know, different companies that would set up shop there because it's, you know, a downtown address and it's a cool building. And, you know, we kind of like, we sold the dream, like our vision to the landlords there. And they just happen to be incredible people. And, you know, they also kind of share some of the same values as far as like community and like, you know, bringing people together and, you know, like, you know, everybody being welcome type thing. And so we just kind of pitched it as like, look, we believe in it. Trust me, we have a baby on the way. Like we still want to do this instead of getting a house. Like we feel like we know the business well enough. It's going to work. Plus like, we just love doing it. That we told them the Bill Murray story. And then we also just kind of explained to them that, you know, if you rent it to a different company, like a internet company, they're either not going to do so well, and they're not going to be able to afford it after a couple of years, or they're going to do really well and they're going to outgrow it. With us, like as long as it's working, we're going to try to stay there as long as possible.
Cool. Yeah. No, which makes sense. Is it a house or is it a commercial property?
All of our places are commercial.
Okay.
So even our Barton Springs house is a commercial property. And that's another thing that made it kind of a unicorn, because, you know, we're not a residential place that is like under scrutiny.
Yeah, I know. That was my next question, because I see your list on Airbnb. Are there any regulations? I don't know how Austin is as far as regulations for nightly stay, weekly stay without paying hotel taxes. You know, every state's different.
Right. So there is with Austin, and, you know, it's like, it's all kind of a weird gray area as far as like co-living and, you know, how it's handled. But because we are in the commercial space, and because we do have the owner's blessing, and because Airbnb already, you know, takes all the, you know, hotel taxes, like we're in the clear. We're doing like what we're supposed to do for right now.
Cool.
And, you know, again, like because we're a commercial space, we're not really the problem people they're looking for, because we're not having like, you know, the house inside the neighborhood that's, you know, going to get a bunch of complaints, because we're around a bunch of like restaurants and actual big businesses where like at nighttime, you know, there's no one like sleeping there that will like be worried about parking and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's just been, we've gotten really lucky on the places we've selected, and it's just worked out where we've had great landlords as well.
Oh, good. And then what's your average stay?
So we do like a bare minimum of 2 nights, just because when we did one night in the past, you know, some people would just see it as a cheap bed, and they would miss out on like our goal of like, because, you know, they could come in at 10 p.m. and leave at, you know, 8 a.m., not meet a single person and be like, oh, blah, I don't, you know, wasn't for me. But if they stay for more like a full, you know, 2 nights, they're going to eventually meet somebody, have a cool conversation, go out on the town with somebody, and like have a great experience.
Cool.
So that's why we did away with our 1 night stay. And then, you know, we have from anything from like a 2 night stay to we have people that have stayed over 6 months before.
Nice.
So,
and then what's your longest, other than you guys, obviously, who's been there how long has the longest person stayed there?
7 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just put them month to month? It's like a month to month lease?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're very flexible as far as like, you know, the payment goes. So once we kind of know the person, then we'll do like, okay, you know, we'll do a week at a time, but you pay it a week or 2 in advance.
Okay.
And then that way, like, because we understand, like, you know, sometimes it's feast or famine with different digital nomad jobs at times. So we want to make sure, like, we're not asking for this huge amount up front, because we do like the people around. And then that way, like, it is flexible for them. It is, you know, like an unbeatable price for the location they're getting, plus having like all the amenities that we offer as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. That's awesome. And then what's your favorite part, which I probably could guess this after like, you light up when you talk about it, but what's your favorite part about running your co-living home?
I mean, the best part is just you never know what the next conversation, like the next interesting conversation is going to be. And that's what's so cool. It's just because, like, you know, we get to see like all these people come through a little wide-eyed sometimes when they first get there, 3 days later, leaving, have an incredible time with friends. And just to see like kind of that transformation of them like opening up and being less closed off and less, you know, like you can tell like their comfort zone kind of opened up after staying with us.
Yeah.
And like hopefully like it'll go forward throughout their life where like they're more willing to like, you know what, I'm going to try that. I'm going to be more of a yes man instead of like, oh, well, that's not the way it's done, or I don't know about that.
Yeah. And then what's the next, what is the demographic? I know you said it's a lot of digital nomads, obviously. What's the age? And what's percentage of guys versus girls? And what's the age range?
So definitely over 21, just because, you know, like if any of our guests have alcohol there, like we don't want to, you know, have anyone underage that could potentially get them in trouble. Just like a, you know, needless liability.
Yeah.
And, you know, as far as the alcohol, like we're all about people like enjoying themselves, but we do have like strict, like don't overdo it policy. Another policy that I want to talk about is like, we ask everyone that stays with us to leave the bathroom, the kitchen, everything as good or better than they found it. That way, you know, because I mean, if you have 20 plus people staying in a space, if they're all just like leaving their hair in the sink, leaving their toilet paper, you know, whatever, like all of a sudden that thing is a pigsty, even if you had it clean that morning. But because we kind of drill that home as like one of our like important things for them to do, that's been a huge, you know, thing where like there's signs like above the toilets, like make sure you leave this, you know, in great condition for the next guests.
Oh,
And
I love that. You're right.
yeah.
It's that like reminder, especially with that many people. Oh my gosh.
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And then let me see what else had another while you were talking. Do you guys have like dedicated co-working space? Do you have a dedicated phone call room or webinar room in these spaces?
Yeah, so like our giant 2,000 square foot patio at Barton Springs, that has Wi-Fi throughout it. Plus there's power cords that stretch out the entire, you know, length of the patio. So there's probably, I mean, we have events out there with over 100 people. So there's plenty of room, like on a nice day when it's not 108 degrees, where you can actually get out there and work. That's my favorite spot to do it. But we also have, you know, probably 15 seats inside the house for them to work there. And then our downtown space, like, you know, that one's amazing because the top floor is all where people sleep. Bottom floor, there's a huge co-working space with over, you know, 30 spots in one co-working room, plus a conference room, plus, you know, big lounge area and a movie room. And what's great, because it is such an old, you know, historic building, you know, if you want to be loud after 10 p.m., that's another one of our rules, like upstairs in the sleeping area, you know, be courteous to the other people. Like, don't be loud. Don't, you know, talk on your phone after, you know, a time where people might be sleeping. But downstairs, have a good time till 2 a.m. Like, they can't hear you upstairs. Just like when you go upstairs, that's like quiet area. But what's awesome about the, you know, the downtown space is like we do have that huge co-working area. And so that's another way we kind of bring, you know, local community into it, is we rent, you know, like some daily co-working space as well. And so that's another way we get like some local businesses or some local, you know, entrepreneurs into the space to also interact with our guests. So we think we have kind of a unique proposition where, like, you know, where else can you work with solo travelers from around the world doing cool things?
No, I love that. Do you guys charge like a $20 day rate, or what do you guys charge?
I mean, we keep it super low. It's $15.
Cool.
Yeah. And I mean, if you do a weekly pass, we do like $60.
Nice.
So it's like way cheaper than anyone else, just because we want, like, the main benefit is, you know, using the space, but also like we just want, again, like interactions and potential friendships to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like the more interesting, cool people in the space, the better.
Cool. I love that. I love that. And then and your name, Swap. So stay, work, and play. How'd you guys come up with that? So cute.
It was actually Lindsay's sister. Like the first, I think 4 or 5 weeks we had it open, we didn't have an official name for it.
Nice.
And then like we were just kind of thinking of like, you know, live, work, and play, stay, work, and play. It's just like, oh, you can call it Swap, and you can have people that are called the Swap team, and blah blah blah. And like, I don't know, for whatever reason, it just stuck. And yeah, I mean, it's been cool. And like, you know, some guests call, like, you know, sometimes we call the guests swappers and things like that. Like, I don't know. And it's also good because, like, you know, the double meaning is like swapping ideas, swapping stories, you know, like just trying to help each other out. So like it works on multiple levels.
Love that. And then my last question is one of the most important ones. What is your opinion of the future of where co-living is going?
I mean, I think it's going to be gigantic, honestly. Mainly because younger generation, like, we no longer, on like a large level, our material is that we want like a big plot of land by ourselves in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're already, you know, we're already all in that situation where, like, once you leave college, it's way tougher to meet friends. Like I said, you know, especially if you can work by yourself, like, all of a sudden you get really lonely and, you know, you have to kind of seek out community. And I mean, I think co-living, it scratches so many itches because you can do shorter term stays in cool places. And, you know, we're living in a time magically where, like, if you have internet, you can do your job wherever you're at. And so why be limited to like one house that you have to pay all this money for and keep upkeep and all this stuff? Whereas, in the co-living kind of world, like you can stay somewhere, meet a bunch of interesting people. If you love it, you can stay there for as long as you want. But if it's not for you, pick up and move, go 3 days, go to the next place. And so, one thing I would love to kind of have happen is, we get this all the time, like whenever people leave us and they ask, like, oh man, do y'all have any other locations, like another city, or is there any other place like y'all, what you're doing? And I mean, I would love it if like the different co-living, locations around the country and the world would just kind of like share like, well, where are you going next? Okay, we'll go to this place. Because, we're not competing for people.
No, not at all. Yeah. And just creating that synergy and that network. And actually one of the interviews I did earlier was Daniel Beck, who's the founder of coliving.com.
Yeah, I've been Facebook messaging with him like so much.
And yeah, we're listed. No, he's amazing. So it's like, what's the but then you're right. But then speaking from personal experience, like if you knew the owners personally somehow of each co-living space, then, then it's that much better, right? Where you're like, okay, I've been to that house, I've been to Kndrd quarters in Los Angeles. You got to talk to Christine. Let me connect you. But just more synergy between all of the co-living spaces around the world. I agree 110%. So that's why I'm like, okay, how can we get this, like organize this a little bit better, create that directory? Like that's kind of, and again, Daniel's done a bulk of the work. I mean, he's been working on it for years. And that's a lot of data. That's a lot of stuff to put together. It's like the Airbnb, but for co-living.
Totally. And I mean, that's what we need. And that, like he's definitely crushing it. Like site looks good, works good. And, I'm excited for that to gain even more traction because, right now we are like kind of in the huddled masses of Airbnb where, there's so many options and like you can't really search by co-living. You search by shared room, which can mean a lot of different things.
Oh yeah. And I've tried and I have favorites. You can search. Sometimes I can find like ours are titled like entrepreneurs only or, in Airbnb, but you have to dig for it or you can, it's hard to find co-living. It's hard to find entrepreneurs, digital nomads. Like the search mechanism in Airbnb kind of struggles with that. And we did open it up to anybody. We tested that this summer here in LA. And that was interesting where it's like, oh, when our residents are traveling, hey, you can put your room on Airbnb, make some extra money. Well, it was just like, hey, anybody could stay here, and it was unique because it changed the dynamic of the whole house because these weren't entrepreneurs. These are people that are from a different country here in LA to party, smoking weed because California you can smoke weed now. So we were like, that was in the house. And I'm like, okay, that might not work for what we're doing.
It's a different thing, right?
Yeah, I was like, that's probably not the environment that we have set up as a home. And so now we change it to say business professionals. Anybody in tech, we're in a real big tech hub here in Playa Vista in Los Angeles. So it's like business professional tech entrepreneurs. So once we changed on Airbnb, it shifted everything. That's usually now that's the guests that stay here. And again, they're from all over the world and we get to meet these great people and, so yeah. But again, with the coliving.com platform, it's way more specific.
Exactly. And I mean, that's what's, amazing. If like you can get the digital nomads or the people that are seeking that out, then like you do miss the problems of like, you won't have the problems of like the random person that just wants to go wild and party and, work with other people. And like, you run into those a little bit. Like we're pretty good about screening and like, okay, are you sure this is what you want? Is this sure what you're looking for? I don't think I like really answered your question earlier about the age, but it's like 21 to probably 35 is the big, that's like, that's probably like 40, like 21 to 40, 45 is like probably like like the meat of our customers. But we've actually had like several people like 50s and 60s that, you see them book and you like kind of reach back out like, all right, you sure? I just want to let you know it's a shared room and blah, blah, blah. Just to like, because we had like bad experiences before where we would just be like, oh yeah, they booked, let's just take them. And then like there's bad experience. And if you have one bad apple, like, or someone that like is having a bad time, they can poo-poo the experience of everybody. But like we've had so many awesome people in their 50s and 60s that were like, no, this is what I look for. Like I do couch surfing all the time, or like traveled all by myself, like around the country on a, in a RV for 10 years. Like, you just meet like these really interesting people that are all about it. And like, they just, like they add that much more because they have all this experience and these cool stories. And like, we're just like, how were you able to do that when there wasn't Wi-Fi? And like, it's so cool. So.
Oh, that's super cool. No, that's a great point. Yeah. Just making sure that they know what they're getting into like before they get there. Well, awesome, Sean. I really appreciate it. Of course, we're going to have all the contact information for Swap Loft. So if anybody is in Austin, Texas, they can look you up. They can come hang out, stay at your place.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you for your time. Good luck with everything. Congratulations on your success so far. And yeah, hope to meet you in real life sometime.
Yes. Anytime you're in California, let me know. I'm in San Diego and LA, both a lot.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll do it for sure.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.